It sure is dark in here. Oh, man. The smell. I can't get over the smell. Oh, I hate the smell of rotting fish. I've been banished from your sight, yet I will look again towards your holy temple. When my life was ebbing away, I remembered you, Lord, and my prayer rose to you, to your holy temple. Those who cling to worthless idols turn away from God's love for them. But I, with shouts of grateful praise, will sacrifice to you. What I have vowed I will make good. I will say, salvation comes from the Lord. Have you ever done something wrong that you knew you were going to get in trouble for, and then run and hidden? Yeah, well, it may work for a little while, but I bet all of you have been found by your parents eventually. And in this case, this person who was running was found by God. God sent word to Jonah. He said, "Go to the city of Nineveh, preach to them. They're doing some really bad things, and he can't ignore it any longer." What did Jonah do? He wasn't happy about it. He didn't want to go there. He wanted to see those people get punished. So he went the other direction. He went to Tarshish, running away from God. He went to the port of Joppa, and he found a ship. Paid his money, got on board, trying to get as far as he could get from God. It doesn't work real well when God's everywhere, but he wasn't that smart apparently. So God sent this huge, huge sea storm. The waves are towering, sailors are scared, ship's about to break into pieces, and they start calling out in desperation to their gods. And they throw everything possible into the water, trying to lighten the ship, trying to make it easier, trying to make it float above these waves that are crashing upon them. Jonah had gone down to take a nap. He was sound asleep. The captain came up to him. "What's this? Sleeping? Get up, pray to your God. Maybe your God will see we're in trouble and rescue us." Sailors said to one another, let's figure this out. Let's draw some straws and figure out who's responsible for this. Well, Jonah got the short straw. So they asked him, why is this? What's happening to us? Jonah confessed. He said, "I'm a Hebrew. I worship God, the God of heaven who made sea and land." Well, that frightened the men. They were really frightened. The sailors realized he was running from God. So what are we going to do now? How do we get rid of the storm? By this time, the sea was completely out of control. Jonah said, just throw me overboard. Throw me into the water. Storm will stop. You guys will be fine. It's my fault. I'll take care of it. Just throw me into the water. If you get rid of me, you'll get rid of the storm. But nope. Men were stubborn. They didn't want to kill a person. If they threw him into the sea, they thought surely he will die, and they didn't want to be responsible for it. So they tried to row back to shore. They didn't make any headway. In fact, the storm got worse. So they prayed, "Oh God, don't let us drown because of this man's life, and don't blame us for his death. You are God. Do what you think is best." So they took Jonah, and they threw him overboard. Immediately, the sea for them quieted down. The sailors were impressed. They were no longer terrified by the sea, but they were in awe of God. They worshipped God, offered a sacrifice, and made vows. Meanwhile, Jonah's in the ocean. So God sent a huge fish to swallow Jonah, and Jonah was in the belly of that fish for 3 days and nights. So when we left off, Jonah was in the belly of the whale and he was praying. And guess what happened next? Most of you probably know. The fish threw Jonah up on land. And I'm not saying he took his arms and swung them and threw him up on land. I'm saying he actually threw up Jonah on dry land. And so God spoke to Jonah again. He said, "You need to go to Nineveh. You need to go preach to them and tell them what they are doing wrong." So Jonah set off. He wasn't going to disobey twice. And Nineveh was a big city. Jonah went into the city and he preached. In 40 days, Nineveh will be smashed. And the people listened. They listened to what Jonah said. They listened to what God was going to do. The rich and poor, famous, obscure leaders and followers, everybody listened. Even the king of Nineveh listened. And the king said, maybe turn around his mind about us. Maybe he'll quit being angry with us and let us live. God saw what they had done, that they had turned away from their evil lives. He did change his mind about them. What he said he would do to them in 40 days, he didn't do. What about Jonah? Jonah was mad. He was angry. He yelled at God. He said, I knew it, 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 I knew it. I knew this was going to happen. That's why I ran off to Tarshish. I knew you were grace. I knew you were mercy. I knew you weren't easily angry. I knew you had love. I knew at the drop of a hat you'd change your plans, turn this punishment into forgiveness. So God, if you won't kill them, kill me. Whew. God, what do you have to be angry about? But Jonah just left. He left the city. He went down and he basically sat down pouting. You guys don't pout, do you? He put together this little shelter of leafy branches and sat there in the shade to see what had happened to the city. But he already knew God was going to spare him. So God arranged for this little leafed tree vine to grow up, and it grew over Jonah, and it cooled him off, trying to help get him out of his angry sulk. Jonah was pleased. He enjoyed the shade. A whole lot better than the belly of a fish. But then God sent a worm. By dawn, that worm had bored into the shade tree and it had withered away. Sun came up and God sent a hot, blistering wind from the east. Sun beat down on Jonah's head. He started to faint. He prayed to God, I'm better off dead. God said to Jonah, what right do you have to get angry about this shade tree? Jonah said, plenty of right. It's made me angry enough to die. And here's the important part. God said, how can you change your feelings from pleasure to anger overnight about a shade tree that you did nothing to get? You neither planted it, you didn't water it, you didn't take care of it. It grew one night and died the next night. So why can't I change what I feel about Nineveh from anger to pleasure? This big city of more than 120,000 people didn't know right from wrong. That's why I sent you. And kids, here's the thing. That's where he's sending you, right? He's sending you into the world to be this light, to be this beacon for him. If he wants you to go do something, follow his call. You don't want to end up in the belly of a whale.